Welcome back to Daytime here on Rogers TV. I'm Jennifer Robinson, and new year means new financial outlooks for a great number of people and trying to make that step up to the next best purchase. And we're joined by Mike Parker, who's here, telling us about rent to own and how you can be in your dream home much quicker than you think. And really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, I didn't even know that you could do this, renting to own your home. Explain this process.
Well, renting to own a home is basically, it's two agreements combined into one. First, you'd have a standard rental agreement, which you'd know of in a typical rental agreement. And the second would be an option to purchase. And the option to purchase is really the own part. That's the part of the agreement that allows you to purchase the property, say 2 or 3 years down the road. In any rent-to-own program, people will pay a little bit more at each month, and that's what will go towards their down payment or their credit in the future. And that's what makes up that easier for them to save for it. So really, we're putting them into a situation where they have to force to save for their down payment.
Why do you think people have difficulty saving for that down payment?
I think we're in a society now that promotes spending and overspending. And I mean, I know we're just coming out of Christmas, it's probably a good time to talk about you know, how much you probably spent and what you put on your credit cards. And if you continue to live that way, you're never going to save up. So it's about prioritizing what you want out of life. And if home ownership is a goal, then you really need to take the action. So some people that can save, they don't need the rent to own. Some people that have good credit, they don't need to rent to own. That's another big aspect of renting to own. People that have fallen upon maybe some hard times in their past, potential divorce or loss of job that's impacted their credit or ability to save, that's where rent to own really is a benefit.
Well, it sounds like you're working on trying to help people take that next step. For people that are understanding a little bit more, is there a stigma attached to this process?
I would say that there is. I mean, it's like anything. We're not governed by anyone in terms of any rent-to-own company. It really could just be a single investor. You could do a rent-to-own with someone on your own. You don't have to be licensed to do it. It's basically, like I said, it's the two agreements. I think the negative stigma comes with whenever people aren't qualifying the tenant buyers or the person that wants to rent to own up front. Therefore, they're not able to purchase the home at the end. That's why there's the negative stigma. If you don't qualify the people up front accordingly, meaning is their income great enough, is their credit at a point in their life whenever they're going to be able to make it better in 2 to 3 years down the road, if you're not doing that up front and they can't buy it and it's not a win-win at the end, that's why there's the negative stigma.
Are those the type of right questions that you should be asking at the beginning of this process?
Absolutely. I mean, if you are considering renting to own, you're someone in that position, you should be asking, what am I going to be able to qualify for in terms of my financing? Even if you can afford to pay the monthly payment each month, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to get your own financing at the end of the term. And that's the most critical thing for anyone considering rent to own. Will I be able to get my own financing at the end? And that's what people need to remember. So that's the most important question I'd ask anybody.
How did you end up starting out in this industry? I know you are the founder of your business. Was it something that you always had an interest in, or because the real estate market is actually rebounding for a second time right now?
Well, I started, obviously, I was interested in real estate investing. So we purchased some properties with using rent to own. We like this model before its win-win characteristics. So we currently hold 5 properties in Barrie and Innisfil and in the surrounding area ourselves. But my company actually brokers deals between investors and tenant buyers, or people that need to rent to own. So my interest came from real estate investing, number 1, and 2, looking for something that would be, from an investor standpoint, something that wouldn't take up too much of my time. So with rent-to-own tenants, typically they are the good people. They want to be the homeowners. They just can't be today, but have a positive outlook 2 or 3 years down the road. So you're not having to deal with the stigma of potentially bad tenants. So that's really what got me started, and then just wanting to do more and more deals and work with more and more investors. So that's where I got my start.
Is this type of rent-to-own for your home, is this growing in popularity here in Barrie?
I would say that it is, and I would say that most people would agree. You can drive by any major intersection and see rent to own your home, and with some 800 numbers. And again, that's what I want to get out to everybody, whether it's if you're talking to someone at my company or at a different company, have the right questions asked, because there's many people or many companies that say that they're in it for the win-win characteristics, and maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But that's what I want to get across.
And I think when it comes down to it, I mean, home ownership is probably a big goal for a lot of people. And when you start this process as someone who's looking to start with the rental part of it and then become a homeowner, what do individuals need to do to bring to you when they feel like this is a step that they want to take?
Well, as I mentioned, qualifying people is the most important point. So you would need to bring to our company similar things that you'd need to bring to the bank as if you're going to get your mortgage. So proof of income, proof of no tax arrears, okay, your credit score, all those types of things. So you're really getting a financial snapshot of where you are today. So because we qualify people similarly to a bank, but we have some flexibility on the credit aspect, because your income is very important. If you don't have enough income, maybe you can't get that property that's $250,000 or $270,000, but maybe you can get that first step into a nice townhome for $200,000. Okay, so again, it comes back to what can you afford, and then looking into the future at your mortgage.
Do you find it difficult? You're not really a person that is like a credit counselor at the same time. So if when someone comes to you, do you provide advice? Like, I know when it comes to financing, oh, I can afford $250,000, so I'm going to spend it all. Do you help guide people through this process at the same time?
Absolutely, because again, that's the most important point at the end. Maybe their credit is bumpy or bruised today, or maybe they don't even have an established credit. You know, I come from an era where don't have credit, don't overspend, right? Don't use credit cards, and people maybe didn't realize how important credit cards were. So you have to look at, you know, where am I going to be in the future, and how can I get there? And that's the most important thing.
Well, I know it is going to be an expanding market as well, and if people are looking to take that next step to homeownership, especially in 2012, is it going to be challenging? You know, people are kind of a little afraid of what's going on in the States and in Europe with the credit crisis, and are people a little more wary right now in moving forward with their financial goals or home ownership goals?
I really don't believe people should be wary. You have to look at each individual market. So even in the U.S., there's still markets that are thriving. So I think whenever you're considering Barrie or this area, I mean, Barrie hasn't seen a negative impact in its real estate. Certainly there are some markets within Barrie that have, but generally speaking, Barrie has continued to rise. So I don't think people should be concerned with that. And again, I just want to reiterate something that you just asked me about the credit. We do actually have some affiliates within our company that do counsel people on their credit. So I kind of went around that question by accident there.
That's okay. It sounds like it's a great partnership, and you're providing a great opportunity for the next step in somebody's life. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right, now let's see if Glenn is being relaxed over there. Glenn?
I'm always relaxed, too relaxed, you know that. Hanging out with Ashley, we are, now, RMT.
Yes.
Registered Massage Therapist. So, okay, jack it off.
Jack it
right?
off.
We got to do this thing.
Yeah.
Do this thing called life. All right, now, you know
you can hang that up.
Yeah, you know what? I'll give it to my co-host.
Okay.
My lovely co-host will just chill and take it. Thanks
Don't
a lot.
need to put it on the floor.
No, exactly. So, yeah, you're in for some work.
Okay, that's okay.
I don't know how much time we have, but you know, it doesn't matter. We're just going to keep going longer.
Just do what I can?
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever, it doesn't matter. So with this, like when you obviously assess people, and I know Jen was chatting about that first.
Yep.
Making sure they're comfortable. Now, do people, like the cracks and the pops,